Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. It's Lennon. I want to talk about the poetry that I've been currently reading and read you some, but it's probably it's like the hopeless romantic in me that chose to wear my poet shirt. I have like this piratey poet dark academia thing that I love about my wardrobe, but I usually end up wearing something like colorful, and white is like a no-no color for me. But when I really need the aesthetic of the poet or the pirate or the academic, like the Dead Poets Society, I get this kind of shirt out, like with these big old wispy sleeves, and read some poetry. There's something about aesthetics that I love. And then I need, like, when I'm in a poetry mood, you know, I get my big sleeved robes out or my billowy shirts and lounge properly, glamorously. Now, I already talked about this one in a previous video. Death, composed from the shadows. Poems by DJ Irvine. Now, DJ Irvine is a poet, but he is also a photographer, and he incorporates some of his photos with his poetry, and it is insanely good. So, one poem in here ripped my guts out. It was called The Angel of Life. Here it is, right here. Flipped. Where'd she go? Here it is. Actually, you know what? Let's do this teacher style. Can I do that? Yeah, there we go. The angel of life still loves death, even though he's off committing murders in the night. Oh, I love this. It looks like an eyeball. Between the galaxy, death found us, hiding between this galaxy, on this little ball of significance. Death's broken souls. Can death love a broken soul? One where life lies in a sea of gold, broken from having it all, not helping the people of these lands, as the painting on the wall bathes in wondrous sand. Where there is no fate, there is nothing written, which means you entered on commission. Ooh. To a journey that death can't stand. Oh my God, to think about us being on this earth as an act of commission. Oh, I don't know. In the last days, when death awaits in the distance, it's only then you realize your positioning. What could you have achieved with all the power of the green sea held in the palm of your hand? And so the story continues, onto a journey with another tight grip, with a reality that doesn't exist, as death comes back late with bright souls reflecting in its gaze, awaiting a human that can give the world back to all the awaiting souls. Look for life, not gold. I love when poems end on a punch, you know? Oh my goodness, this poem is called Cold Hell. Look at that photo. Hell is not what you think, what you've been told, a place where life demands cold. There is no fire, there is no desire. A demon has no time to inflict pain on your soul. It's black, it's dark, and time walks slow. It's only near the end you realize the infinite pain from a journey not intended for the sane. Black magic. No one believes in black magic. Not true. But when death arrives, you will. These are so good. It's like this, the poetry along with the photos is almost intoxicating. Death's philosophy. I love black and white galaxy images. Death travels through the universe, collecting the departed wherever it turns. Imagine a place where death didn't exist, a crowded place where life couldn't exist. Life and death complement each other's ask, especially where the light hangs fast. A solar system built for conditioning, with millions of reasons to start a beginning. With intelligent life throwing everything out of sync, let's worry about what death will finally bring. Ooh, this one's called The Shadow Man. Love this. Oh, so spooky. Right? You know what this reminds me of? Side note here. I love the Shroud of Jesus. I'm sure it's not called that, okay? But there was a great conspiracy about this shroud, right? Probably made out of muslin or linen, right? And it was supposedly in the grave of Jesus. And it, like, you know, like it's a shroud. So it covered the dead body. And apparently the way that it was, like the face and the body and the horn, the crown of thorns. Horn. If that wasn't a Freudian slip, I don't know fucking what was. The thorns on his head. Anyway, the shroud just like was supposedly the shroud of Jesus, right? And the conspiracy like went apeshit over it. But I remember thinking, how cool is it to just have a shroud from that era? Okay. Who cares who it was? But this reminds me of that. Like, if I didn't want to be cremated, I probably would want a death shroud. Or a death mask. Like Dante. The Shadow Man. Catching it from the corner of my perspective. Turning around quick to catch a glimpse. The Shadow Man who waits for it. Show yourself. Stop being a distortion of reality. Causing a singularity. Hairs spiking through my spine. Deafening the senses of this decaying mind. He stands at the foot of my bed. I arise for no reason, from a deep sleep, pretending not see his beckoning stench. Into the darkness he disappears, reminding me of his presence again, defending my racing heartbeat again. Enlightening friend or foe, with no end. I've seen him before, from before, when the thick red curtains hung at the door, preventing the passing cold entering within. Maybe it's just the wind. Or a fragment of my inner temptation, questioning all to win. Let me tell you this, he, it, she awaits for us all, ready to take us back to a distant call. Only to some it reveals itself, for reasons I have none. The Shadow Man exists. I cannot wait for death, but he waits for me. So good. This guy's good, you know? I mean, typically I'm not a modernist when it comes to poetry. I like the classics, okay? But there's something about, like, I really love the current poet laureate. You know, their poems are fantastic. And I like some of the modern poetry. But again, I think this is the hopeless romantic in me that really likes the language of older poetry. And it's sort of a pet peeve of mine, like an internal struggle with me, that I tend to like poems that originated in a different language, a language that I can't speak. So when I'm reading a translation, I'm not truly getting the absolute real vibe. I can try. Like with my absolute favorite poet, who is Baudelaire, okay? One of the French Symbolist poets, okay? All of his poems are translated from French, and I took 4 years of French and can barely read it. You know, like I could read a notice, like a post-it note. If someone wrote me a post-it note, I could be like, all right. But if someone were like talking to me in French, I couldn't follow it. So it's just one of those things that I struggle with about translated poetry. But and like trying to go through different translations from like my thing is to get someone that is either actually French fluent in French or have studied the language in an academic way, they're the ones that I would like typically go to for a good translated copy of some of my favorite poets and some of my favorite texts in general. Like, that's just a rule of mine, is that I'd like you to be academically inclined with the language before I just trust you to translate some of the goods, you know. And I picked this up for I think like $1 or $2. It's French Symbolist poets. Okay, we have let me see. We have Baudelaire, we have Verlaine, we have Corbière, we have Mallarmé, we have Rimbaud, we have Valery. I like a lot of these. Let's see. And see, and that's another thing that I really like about my actual books, is that they come in their original language here and then their translated version on the other side. I like that, because if I ever were so inclined to learn a said language or to go about this kind of like cool quest to translate it myself, I could with this actual text. But a lot of the times, you know, like Google Translate's not always the best for certain, like the Queen's English or slang or certain pockets of places. They have their own like dialect. Google Translate doesn't work like that. So, but anyway, this poem is called Fantasy. Pretty sure this is by Gerard de Nerval. Okay. There is a tune for which I would give all. Rossini, all of Weber and Mozart. An old tune, languid and funereal. That's me. Okay. All through my teenagehood, Chopin's Funeral March was like my anthem for some reason. There was something about that tune that didn't fill me with sadness or like, you know, death. It filled me with this like very good chest feeling. I don't know. Sounds morbid, but just telling you how I am, okay? That charms me only. Let me back up. There is a tune for which I would give all. Rossini, all of Weber and Mozart. An old tune, languid and funereal, that charms me only with its secret art. Now, every time I happen to hear it sung, my soul grows younger by 2 centuries. It's the reign of Louis XIII, and I think I see a green hill yellowed by the setting sun. Then an old brick chateau with stone corners, and the leaded glass of the windows, color of rose, begirt by great parks where a river flows, bathing the stones as it glides along the flowers. Then a lady at the tall window of her chamber, a blonde with dark eyes, in an old-time gown, whom I have seen before, perhaps, and known in another existence, and whom I remember. This is so strange. Like, this poem is called Fantasy, right? And it talks about seeing this castle, this like, widow, okay? In the widow speak of the castle, the white lady, right? The apparition of the lady that used to live in the castle, right? Things like that. It is a fantasy story. He's saying that certain music compositions pull that like fantasy fairy tale out of him. I think that's what that means, and I like it. Oh, here's one by Baudelaire, which is one of my favorites. Okay, it's called Obsession. Great woods, you frighten me like the cathedrals. You howl like organs. In our cursed hearts lie chapels of endless grief where old rallies rattle. Echoing your De Profundis a reply. Ocean, I hate your tossing and your tumults. My spirit finds them all again in me. I hear in the monstrous laughter of the sea the bitter laugh of the vanquished and sobs and insults. O night, how you would please me without stars, whose light speaks only in the banal tongue. I seek the black, the empty, and the bare. But the shadows are themselves a canvas, where from my eyes 1,000 ghosts are flung, of vanished beings with familiar stares. This is by Verlaine, okay, and it's called Parisian Sketch. The moon was laying her plates of zinc, I love that, her plates of zinc, on the oblique. Like figure 5, the plumes of smoke rose thick and black from the tall roof peaks. In the gray sky, the breeze wept loud as a bassoon. In a funk, a stealthy tomcat meowed, far away his shrill, strange tune. I can hear the cat. Oh. Dreaming of Plato, I walked on, and of Phidias, of Salamis, and Marathon, under winking eyes of blue jets of gas. It's just like walking through the streets of Paris. You hear a stray cat, right? You're a tomcat. And you just happen to look up at the stars. You're dreaming, right? You're dreaming. Ooh, how appropriate. Okay? This is called Autumn Song. I swear we're going to get to some more, okay? With long sobs the violin throbs, of autumn wound my heart with languorous and monotonous sound. Choking and pale when I mind the tale, the hours keep, my memory strays down other days, and I weep. And I let me go where ill winds blow, now here, now there, harried and sped, even as a dead, left anywhere. Let me just... Bibliomancy. Okay. Nope, that's the end of the book. That was a bibliography. Y'all don't want me to read the bibliography, okay? Okay. Caesar by Valare. Okay. Caesar, serene Caesar, your foot on all, hard fists in your beard and your gloomy eyes, pregnant with eagles and battles of foreseen fall. Your heart swells, feeling itself the omnipotent cause. In vain the lake trembles, licking its rosy bed. In vain gold glitters on the young wheat straws. You harden in the knots of your gathered body, the word that must finally rive your tight-clenched jaws. The spacious world beyond the immense horizon, the empire awaits the torch, the order, the lightning, that will turn the evening to a furious dawn. Happily out onto the water and cradled in hazard, a lazy fisherman is drifting and singing, not knowing what thunder collects in the center of Caesar. Please. All the French poets, okay? All of them. Now, I go to this a lot. I go to Hafiz a lot, okay? This particular collection called The Gift, right? It's just... I vote for you, for God. Oh, could you imagine a democratic God? When your eyes have found the strength to constantly speak to the world all that is most dear to your own life, when your hands, feet, and tongue can perform in that rare unison that comforts this longing earth with the knowledge, your soul has been groomed in his city of love. And when you can make others laugh with jokes that belittles no one, and your words always unite, Hafiz does vote for you. Hafiz will vote for you to be the minister of every country in this universe. Hafiz does vote for you, my dear. I vote for you to be God. He's basically, I love this because it's basically saying that what he thinks a God would be. When you can tell a joke that doesn't belittle anyone. How fucking powerful is that? When you can tell a joke that has respect behind it, that's not going to mock or belittle someone. Like, I want my God to have a sense of humor, but don't fucking mock me, right? Like, that's what he's saying. Oh my God. Okay. Stop being so religious. What do sad people have in common? It seems they have all built a shrine to the past. Damn. And often go there and do a strange wail and worship. What is the beginning of happiness? It is to stop being so religious. Like that. Chills! Let's go to the back of the book. Hopefully we won't get to the bibliography. I keep looking on this side, not the other side, so I feel like I'm missing out, but it's okay. He is a powerful ass poet, okay? Love is the funeral pyre. Yes, it is. Love is the funeral pyre where I have laid my living body. All the false notions of myself that once caused fear, pain, have turned to ash as I neared God. What has risen from the tangled web of thought and sinew now shines with jubilation through the eyes of angels and screams from the guts of infinite existence itself. Love is the funeral pyre where the heart must lay its body. Okay. Holy shit. Okay. Actually, I have a modern guy here. Put my bookmark back over here. I picked this up again from the thrift store by Billy Chapata. I believe this is how you pronounce his name. Chameleon Aura. Look at that. Now, he is actually a Zimbabwean poet, and he is from Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I am from. So I thought that was cool. And reading some of his stuff is really cool. I love the sections. The sections, you know how some poetry collections have sections? They are, like, they're so good. The first one is cerulean, as in the color, amaranth, mikado, viridian, and metamorphosis. So good. And they're very, like, short. Like, mostly. But they pack a punch, and I like that about my poetry, like I said before. I like my poetry to just, like, sometimes I need it to jugular punch me. I want it to. Old connections, and I have to leave you behind. Not because there was no love, but because there was no growth. Darling, many things will make their way back to you, but that doesn't mean that whatever returns is meant to stay. You don't have to make a warm bed for anyone who once left you cold. So good. Inner magic. I reclaimed my magic when I stopped tending to your garden, and I started watering my own. I reclaimed my magic when I started wanting myself more than I wanted you. Fuck. So good. Ooh, this one's called Discoveries. I have no desire to be with someone who completes me. I'd rather be with someone who shows me there is more to me than I ever knew existed. God, that's what I want this poetry to do. I want to read something like that. Fucking 2 lines of and then you just go off in your own your own mind. And I love to be able to ruminate on poetry. It's so intense, man. I love it. And because it's like art. Okay, it is art. But poetry to me is a painting with words. So I'm reading I'm reading some poetry, and I'm like ruminating on what I think it means, but then also how it, of course, I link a poet to like a certain poem that I read to something in my own life, like my lover, my loves, my great happinesses in life, my great sorrows. And I link it to my own, right? And life experience is completely different for everyone. So when you think on it and you're like ruminating on it, that's what makes it so powerful, is that it can tailor to anyone. Wasted Ink. I like the title of that. I no longer write apology letters to parts of myself that no one accepted. I just show those parts love and celebrate them even more. Wow. Sweet solitude. Don't take my solitude personally. At times it tastes sweet being alone. At times applauding myself feels better than attention from crowds. All right, one more. False. The universe has no opinion of me. The universe only reacts off the energy you give it. Your actions and thoughts are keys and shackles. How good is this? And he actually has a couple of other collections out that I'll probably be getting, because this is definitely one of those bibliomantic poetry works that I'm going to be referencing for a while. It'll like become a new Hafiz, like something that I can just, and think on it, All right, the last two, like I said, these are like current works that I've been, reading. This is poetry, but it's also short stories, and it's called The Cathedral of Mist by Paul Williems. Okay, let me read you the back. A collection of short stories that read a lot like poetry to me. From the last of the great Francophone Belgian fantasists, first published in French in 1983. I have a thing for that. Distilled tales of distant journeys, buried memories, and impossible architecture. Herein lies the experience of snowfall in a bed in the middle of a Finnish forest. And it goes on, okay? But the story that this is named after, the Cathedral of Mist, was why I bought this. The Cathedral of Mist was absolutely insanely good, okay? I'm going to read you a little bit of this short story. The architect V renounced the use of stone. After years of meditation, he built a cathedral of mist. The principle was simple. The walls and steeple were made of fog instead of rock. As fog could neither be shaped nor mortared, construction was difficult. But the architect V knew that fog followed certain paths in the air, as air follows a riverbed. And so, with the help of skillfully placed billows, V founded currents of warm air that rose up like hollow walls and columns. These walls of warm air met in the shape of an arch 115 feet above the floor. Steam from a power station hidden underground followed the paths traced for it in the air. He had chosen a magnificent setting, a clearing in the forest of Holtholst, where oaks and beeches soared higher than the vault itself. Here the strange monument wavered gently in the still air. The architecture was at once hazy and precise, for though the steam never strayed from its bed of warm air, it was stirred by draughts and even more by breathing. I want you to wrap your head around this. This guy in this story, okay, in this fictional story, used bellows and currents, air currents, to build this 115-foot cathedral of mist, of fog. And the imagination behind that is insane to me. Because as intricately as I could build my mind palace, my astral altars, my astral temples, to have one made of mist, I don't know, there's something archetypal about that to me, for sure. And I want to explore that. I want to keep reading this and keep going to that section where he's actually building it, because it's so good. There's a couple of other stories in here that I liked, that I enjoyed as well, but the Cathedral of Mist was definitely one of them that I will return and return and return to. Last but not least, is Rilke's Book of Hours. Love poems to God. All right. There's something about the way Rilke writes. Okay. Rainer Marie Wilke. Extinguish my eyes, I'll go on seeing you. Seal my ears, I'll go on hearing you. And without feet, I can make my way to you. Without a mouth, I can swear your name. Break off my arms, I'll take hold of you. With my heart as with a hand. Stop my heart, and my brain will start to beat. And if you consume my brain with fire, I'll feel you burn in every drop of my blood. How is that not like... just perfect. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. Rilke had a way, all right, about him. You, darkness, of whom I am born. Yes. I love you more than the flame that limits the world to the circle it illuminates and excludes all the rest. But the dark embraces everything, shapes, shadows, creatures, and me, people and nations, just as they are. It lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me. I believe in the night. I just want to hum. I want to hear music along with this collection. Maybe cathedral music. We're just talking about cathedrals. Now we're talking about God. And it's like maybe some choirs or, you know, some chants or something. I don't know. I love the dark hours of my being. My mind deepens into them. There I can find, as in old letters, the days of my life already lived, and held like a legend and understood. Then the knowing comes. I can open to another life that's wide and timeless. So I am sometimes like a tree, rustling over a gravesite, and making real the dream of the one its living roots embrace. A dream once lost among sorrows and songs. I'm really enjoying all of these works right now. But I want this to be said at the end of this video that I typically can go over to my bookshelf. I have so many like references that are at my disposal here that I'm always trying to reference. So this is not an exhaustive list, but these are just the ones that I've been going to. Maybe I'm trying to find the sorrow in love this season. So it's not so much about death and transformation and spooky. It's about the sorrow of love. And building things that no one else can see. So, there was a little poetry I'm reading. Let me show you my billowy sleeves. What poets are you reading right now? Doesn't matter if they're modern, whatever. If you think that I would like them, or check, you know, if you want me to check them out, I would love to hear some suggestions, okay? For ones that you go to, like this time of year, or just any. I don't know. Leave me your suggestions below. What are you currently reading right now? I hope everyone is having a great day. Much love.